Welcome to Cancer and Peace Moments. This is Peter. These moments are 15-minute clips of the larger episodes. Blessings.
I've named it already.
What is it?
There is no silver bullet.
Okay.
We talked about this. I think it's just a good idea, way of thinking about what we're going to talk about today for the cancer journey and why it's important to peace in a cancer journey is to really lock onto this concept a little bit.
Yeah, great.
So do you want me to introduce a little bit, or do you want to talk some story about this from your own experience of the silver bullet? Or do you want me to define it a bit?
Yes, define it.
Okay, so we were talking about this a little bit. And I think one of the things that happens in recovery is that we talked about in the Serenity Prayer, which is something that we use in recovery all the time, is accepting the things you cannot change and having the courage to change the things you can. And there's a recognition that in our human frailties, we're always searching for solutions. We're looking for the magic bullet for our situation, for what's going on. And this could be whether it's a cancer journey or even financial success. You know, maybe in culture, you might hear the key to success is a good education. But by itself, a good education, it may help move you along in the educational journey, but it's not a silver bullet. It isn't the magic thing that's going to get you there. But there's a lot of good things to think about in the cancer journey. There's a lot of good opportunities for medical healing that can be pursued. But I think we were really trying to get down to is that you had mentioned to me earlier the number of cancer cells. So I'll have you repeat that in a second because I'd already forgot what the number is. But there's,
Excuse me.
Hundreds, thousands?
Yes, more than 1,000.
Yeah, more than 1,000 different cancer cells.
Types,
And so, and what that implies is that there's not one treatment that's going to meet all those different cell constructs that are cancerous. And I think the thing that I think you've learned in your journey, but I think it's a life principle also, is that there's not a silver bullet. And when one spends their life, their time, especially in a cancer journey where you may have limited time, if you spend it chasing a silver bullet, you're probably not going to be doing that in peace. And this podcast is about peace, finding peace in the middle of a cancer journey. And I think we've talked a little bit, and what we're not wanting to do is in any way discourage people from finding and pursuing medical treatment for cancer. And so we were thinking about, well, what's important to know? What's important to know on this journey? And if you recognize that there's not a magic solution or a silver bullet solution, how do you know, what the right thing to do? How do you work forward in this? And so one of my more interesting things is the number of people that come up and tell you, Peter, and I've seen it for relatives that have been involved in deep journeys. Have you thought about this? Have you tried this? Have you done that? And as soon as you get all these suggestions coming your way, you can be inundated. And I think about it almost like on the recovery journey, we had this idea called no fixing.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a principle that we want to think about applying here, and also a question to ask yourself on the backside of this. And so, and that principle might be a guideline to think about on your cancer journey and as you're going along, and to ask other people to walk in those guidelines, and a question to ask yourself. And that question really is getting you to look inside of yourself at what's motivating your pursuit.
Yeah. So let me, so I think for me, we're talking about two different perspectives. One from the cancer patient, that perspective, and then the other from the person who's coming alongside of them saying, have you thought about X?
Yes,
it might be a family member or someone in your social circle, church, whichever. And so, yes, I mean, my experience with this has been almost 18 years of interacting in this space. And first of all, I'll talk about the interactions that I've had with cancer patients themselves, because many times my involvement with a cancer patient is they've just been diagnosed. I hold myself out there publicly as a person who's 17 years on this cancer journey, speaks about the journey. I visit many cancer centers with a lot of different folks. and discuss even treatments with them, even though I'm not a medical expert, but just helping them navigate just through the emotional issues about that.
I'll give you word stems to say back and let's see what you think about these, if these are healthy. These are coming from Pete Scazzero's Emotionally Healthy Relationships course.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about too, as we were talking just out, it's like, hey, how do you handle people in this situation? And one of the things is if you want to, be direct, but not be offensive, is I noticed that you said this. I noticed that you're suggesting a treatment, and I really prefer just your support in my journey is one thing you could say.
Yeah, that's great.
And another time, sometimes a different approach could be is maybe you're not quite sure where they're coming from. And you could say, he uses the term puzzles. I'm puzzled at why you're suggesting a treatment to me. Can you give me more detail? Is it that you think I'm on the wrong track? But it's asking a puzzle because it's putting back the question of, why are you giving me a fix? Why are you giving me advice? And depending on who the person is and what's going on may depend on which one of those word stems you might want to use. But what do you think about those for the situations we're talking about? Would that work? Would that be helpful? Because I think, giving some tools for this could be helpful for somebody, because I think I've seen this a lot where people just have so much advice, but the last thing you need for peace is a million alternatives. Like in our fast-paced society, you go to eat somewhere and to have 500 items on the menu is not helpful at times. If the menu's 10.
Well, I mean, and I'll go one step further than that.
Just
and
don't say, shut up.
I'm going to use a scriptural story because I just love this story, and it's of a man named Job that had almost everything taken away from him, except he didn't die, but he had his children passed, his business, his reputation. His wife said, just curse God and die after all these events that happened. And he had 3 friends that came to him because they wanted to comfort him. And the problem is they came to him with their own agenda, which was, hey, listen, buddy, you've done something wrong, that you've brought all this calamity upon yourself from something you've done. And let's find out what that is. But before they began that questioning to try to fix the situation and fix him, they sat with him for 7 days. And I tell people that's the greatest gift that you can give a person in cancer, is to sit and don't say anything. Or if you do active listening. It's a gift.
Describe active listening. Let's just go through.
Active listening is to when the person does communicate, is to reflect and parrot back what you think they're saying so they can clarify it. It's to help them think through their feelings and thoughts and what's going on. It's to do that actively, and then at the end to say, is there anything else you'd like to add to what you're saying? And what would you like me to take away from this?
Yes, I like that last piece. When we do that here, it's what's the most important thing you want me to remember from this conversation? That's active listening, and then state it back to them. That's such a great gift, isn't it?
I've given talks. I've been around people, and they've rushed up to me and said, have you tried X? Right? And how I felt defensive.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I guess I'm not smart enough, or I'm on the wrong track. I'm making a mistake in my cancer journey. And I love what you said. I notice this and I prefer this, or I'm puzzled.
Yes.
I think those are great ways to come back.
I think notice and prefer really does something, is because it's letting them know that, hey, there's a problem, and then addressing that, but you're not trying to be confrontational or in their face. It's like, hey, notice this is what's happening, and this is what I really like from you. And so it still invites them to continue engaging the relationship, but with this is how I'd like you to engage. And it helps you to still do this journey. I'm deeply empathetic of what you were talking about earlier, just thinking about, once I start down a treatment course, second guessing that is not going to move me towards peace.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just keep starting and stopping and doing 1,000 things. And that's why we're calling this episode "There Is No Magic Bullet," is because if you keep starting and stopping and chasing after a magic bullet, you're probably not in peace, and you may even end up hurting yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take my biblical role here, Peter, and say, as one of Joe's friends, that you must have sinned.
Well, that's true. I sin all the time. So, yeah, I guess it's a fair statement.
Yeah, I'm being funny because it's like this, the concept is like, you just don't know what has caused cancer or something that appears to be a negative something in somebody's life. And so to judge that's not our role.
Well, that might be a whole nother discussion, because I've known so many, and this is like in the Christian community, so many godly people, whether they're pastors or whatever, get diagnosed with cancer and pass with cancer. So I know it doesn't have anything to do with their spirituality, whether they have enough faith kind of thing.
Right.
And we can talk about that in another podcast.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just thinking about, you've talked a little bit about getting set on your treatment and just coming to peace with that and not allowing yourself to be oversteered. It doesn't mean that new treatments can't come out that might be really beneficial. So you're not even trying to stop that. It's whether or not you're frantic inside trying to come up with a solution. And I was thinking, when we were from a recovery basis, the way we think about approaching this is, am I going to God first? Like, am I starting out with my higher power, the one who is in control, and seeking guidance there first? And that's probably a way of knowing whether or not I'm trying to solve.
But that's what you said is the key. I mean, and the issue with it, if I'm being honest with the Lord and have that intimacy, is he playing hide and seek with me with the cancer treatment? I just don't think that's the way he would operate. I think if there was a cancer treatment he would want me to be on, he would disclose it to me, and then it would be confirmed by other people in my life, and it would be like, okay, I know I need to do this.
Whenever I feel anxiousness and it's about something that I think I lack understanding on, and if my first response is to go jump online and start searching for an answer or solution or something, I'm working from what I would call Sean power. And to me, that's like our first litmus test. And that never brings peace, ever. So you're not discouraging being able to seek forward in a journey, for a medical journey, but it really is understanding what's motivating you, what's driving you, and learning how to release that to your higher power and to walk in that, because there's a level of acceptance of this journey, and that it's more than just a medical journey.
That's the thing is, I mean, we're talking about, have I sought enough options out? But the issue is really an emotional/spiritual one.
Yeah.
And that's where the solution. I remember I was in after one of my diagnoses, I think it might have been, it was either 2015 or 2017, the elders and pastors decided to have an all-night prayer vigil for me, which I went to. There were like 21 of us. I lasted till like 5 a.m. But it was all about praying for me, and I incorporated all the cancer people, all the people who were struggling with cancer within the church, and we incorporated some other things. But I remember one of the elders said to me, have you tried everything? Have you tried everything? Kind of with a frantic look. And I said, and I remember I said to him, no, I haven't, and I'm not going to. I said, I'm not going to chase cancer cures. I have a life to live. And it's not about the cancer and chasing cancer cures. This is how I felt. If God wants to heal me, I'm going to be healed. If he's going to take me home, I'm going to go home. That's the acceptance part. That's the part that I was in right there. It doesn't mean I felt that kind of peace all the time, but I think overall I had that peace that, okay, this is where I'm at. That's a gift.
Yeah. I think that's helpful for anybody who's starting out their cancer journey, just to hear, or who's in the middle of this and is getting those pressures and trying to, hey, what do I do with those? It's understanding that peace doesn't come through chasing, through, worry,
Right.
but it really is accepting those things that you cannot change. We talked about it in the Serenity Prayer, but I think we just wanted to be in a little bit more detail today about not chasing a magic bullet. And this isn't in any way trying to steer you down a course of what your treatment should look like or whether alternative versus traditional. None of that. This is all about you looking inside and saying, hey, what's motivating me? And peace comes when we accept and then stay the course. That's the thing I would say too. Staying the course on the journey is such an important part of any spiritual journey. And I think this is a spiritual journey and an emotional journey, is that you'll have to work through those things. And hopefully some of those tools where we were, hey, how do you address people who are coming along who are trying to steer you off course a little bit or giving you a fix? Maybe some of those tools, such as I notice and I prefer, can be helpful.
Because I think the issue is not what treatment somebody chooses, what you were just saying. I mean, for me, it's not. But are they at peace?
Yeah, and that's what we're really looking to provide, some resources and understanding.
Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Blessings.